Good afternoon. Welcome to OptionsTender. It's Friday, everybody, March 21st, 2025. Welcome to the channel. Thanks for joining us. If you're new here, go down to that bottom hand corner, hit that subscribe and like. Thank you for the support, everybody. So today we're going to continue to go through the daily timeframes in the 65, just like we have been. Now I'm planning on doing the weekend video on Saturday, and I think we'll do that every single Saturday now because I want to get that precise options expected move for all of the individual names that we cover and the SPX. Now that will be for individual members, so consider that, but we'll get that options expected move for all the indices for the free YouTube. Okay, so that's a lot of help. We base a lot of our trades and a lot of our analysis off of the options expected move. And if you're not familiar with it, I'll tag that that up top there, the video for that small short tutorial. All right, so we're doing this intraday, and today's going to be just a tad different with the weekly time frame. We'll start off there so we can see this candle going into the close here, right? So we're going to go through at SPX. We're going to start off with that, and we'll go around the horn on the daily time frame in the 65. Okay, so we're doing this video about 2:30 Eastern Standard Time. That's PM. And if you want to get these videos intraday, consider, even if you don't, consider supporting the channel. It's 99 cents a month. It's just an additional support for this channel. YouTube, they don't really pay out that much. Let's just be real. And so it helps me do these videos each and every day for you guys. And hopefully you love that. Okay, so let's jump into it. We have SPX on the weekly time frame. We're looking at this consolidation area we've been talking about for weeks, for months. We finally reached it. Spiked through it last week, but clearly held on to that position. We are in buy the dip mode. Okay, I know that we had an inside week here, and price got pinned because of options expiration, but that's going to release next week. We should have a massive bar to the upside. I truly believe that. I think we'll have a huge bar, and we might even get the week after some sort of reversal candle before heading lower. All right, that's our game plan so far on the weekly time frame. Price action's holding. We're not going for another dip. We're gonna hold these prices. Okay, that's what's happening. Let's go down to the daily. Now, in this daily time frame, this is the same bearish rising wedge. You can see in more clarity this consolidation zone. That's why we looked for the buy here in this zone. And clearly price had volatility and was spiking down this low. Now we're still in this chop zone, all right, having trouble getting out. I think that's all about options expected move. We're making higher highs and higher lows. That's all there is to it. This is forming good structure. We talked about that yesterday. And I suspect that we'll get into Monday or Tuesday a large move here, and we're going to break that 5,700. We're going to get above that, and we're going to clear all of these hurdles that we have. And each day we'll probably pause at some sort of let's go ahead and go to the OptionsTender. We'll probably go up to the 200 moving average and the 20-day moving average right here, and we'll probably pause there, and then we'll gap over the next day. But right now, clearly, we're having trouble with the 8 EMA. All right. Once we get above the 8 EMA, that's when the momentum will start to curl up. It's going sideways right now, so we're neutral at this point. All right, so we're building this market structure in our zone here, and I think we'll make it all the way up to at minimum to the 59, looks like about 59.30, where the 100-day moving average, these are the simple, and the 50-day moving average are. And then you'll see tomorrow we'll show that 20-week moving average and show where it is at the time. Okay, we might price might spike through there. At the very top, I think we're looking at about 6,000 to reach back to 6,000. I know that's a deep retracement, but what's happening is you have a lot of buyers here. You have a setup for the bulls, in their opinion, not mine, that prices are going much, much higher. And this is a wave 4, this is expanding flat, and we're looking for much more higher highs at this point. Okay, we're basing our trade off of historic highs and that we've rejected off of those highs. And this is an impulse 1. And now we're looking for a wave 2, which is typically a zigzag or flat, doesn't really matter. But we're looking for a steep retracement before heading lower. All right, so now that we're on these indicators here, the OptionsTender setup, which is a MACD, RSI, and slow stoch, we're getting here on the MACD a crossover. We're starting to get that green there on the histogram. It's looking good. We are going to have a bullish crossover going into next week. Very important. Okay, it's things are starting to tighten up. Things are looking bullish. We had that positive divergence RSI, and we're in this neutral stance here. This is going to continue to oscillate higher. All right, so we're looking at the slow stoch, not in overbought conditions yet, but when it does get up there, I suspect we'll be pinned up top here and we'll oscillate in some sort of way up above in the overbought conditions. Okay, so we are running out of time and to have our top. So we're looking for a top around the beginning of April. Okay, so that's literally coming into next week. We should have a nice big weekly candle, and then going into the shorter part of the week after would be April. It's going into April 1st, 2nd. It's not an exact time frame, but we're looking for a top around that portion. So we're running out of this time to get to these prices. All right, that's super important because now that we wasted all this time with an inside week, we're probably going to see a relentless move that's 3, 4, 5 days in a row to the upside. Perhaps with a pause in between, but once you get to the lower degrees, you'll see there's probably a wave 4 that happens somewhere, and there'll be a pause candle or something like that. And then getting our reversal, that's probably into the 1st of April or so. Then we'll look for our short positions. We'll look to scale into much longer dated expirations that are to the downside. Okay, so looking at this McClellan oscillator, very important indicator for this channel. Okay, we're going to look at this each and every day. We broke out here. We're holding on to that neutral line, right? It's such a negative day today. Indicators are negative. All of our sentiment is negative, and we'll look at sentiment tomorrow too. And so we pulled back a little bit just to go to the neutral point. All right, so this, I believe, continues to go into the overbought situation. We're oscillating to the upside, right? So we got the overbought here, oscillated to much lower conditions, but then after getting a reversal and positive divergence, we oscillated to the upper end. That's what's happening right now. Back down to the oversold conditions. We're done with that. We broke out. All right. And now this is considered a back test. And now we're pausing and we're going to get into overbought conditions. Okay. I don't have any doubt about that. Yes, there's always risk. No matter what, there's always risk in trading. But this is oscillating higher. Okay. We should get in overbought conditions, even find ourselves with a negative divergence eventually and head down to oscillate right back down. Now, the next move is going to bring us much deeper than this move here. All right. We're going to look for a wave 3. And while we're on that subject, I want to repeat exactly what I think is going to happen. There's our primary situation, and I'll show that on SPY, our count, but we're looking for a nice deep retracement, a larger than wave 1 move for the wave 3 much larger, and then 4-5 to the downside. Okay, but the alternate scenario, and we'll go back over this, is that this wave 1 is the longest, and we'll get a deep retracement. Wave 3 is shorter than wave 1, and then a real small wave 4, and then a wave 5 making some sort of wedge into this trend line down here. That's going to be our alternate situation. So if price isn't heading lower as fast, it seems to be some sort of messed up choppiness like this, we'll look for the support to be down at this trend line that's lower here, and that will be a much more squished wave 1 as a diagonal. Then we'll get a large bounce, and then we'll look for a much larger wave 3 after that in a higher degree. Okay, so we'll look to see what happens when we get to this trend line. Either way, I think we get to this trend line after a bounce. All right, we looked at the options tender setup, DeMark. So we'll look at this and just kind of keep track of it. No real count yet. All right. Awesome Oscillator, just getting more green and more green. This is going to cycle up here to the 0 line, probably whipsaw, and then we're going to head lower on there. And by the time we're down to wave 4s and 5s, we'll have this bullish divergence with the awesome Oscillator. Going to SPY. All right, looking at different boards here, we have the divergence up. So we're going to start off with the money flow index. This is starting to oscillate to the upside. If you're new to this channel, this indicator, it does a very good job at pointing out turns. Okay, as we oscillate up to the upper end, we'll look for negative divergence, or at minimum, just a overbought condition before heading lower. Okay. So we had this positive divergence here. We got the turn. We're holding on to support. I believe we go higher. It's buy the dip mode. Bollinger Band, we'll continue to look at this. We didn't even get up to the mid-range yet. And that's right about where the 200 moving average is. All right, so we'll look for that to hit first, probably some sort of pause around here, and then we'll probably gap over it. This next move is a 5-wave impulse move, so I don't think it's going to be anything to relax and start shorting or doing anything like that. We'll probably just ride it along. All right, we grab some more TQQQs into April 11th to be exact, and those are going to work out nicely. Now we can trade around that as well in the lower shorter time frames. Okay, changing the boards here. We have a regular look. So as soon as this is a traditional look, again, we're in this consolidation area. All right, we're holding up here. We're holding that megaphone pattern that we had, got back above it, back tested that megaphone, still holding on to it. And this is the downtrend line. All right, once we break that downtrend line, and we'll call it 565, we get above 565, this thing is going to pop. And not only is it breaking trend, but it'll also break this nice resistance zone here. So 565 will be key for next week. Okay, and now we went over for the individual analysis members on YouTube, not Patreon, YouTube. We pointed out all of the mega tech stocks, the Mag 7, the Magnificent 7 as they call it. They virtually all have this downtrend line. The only one that's broken out so far is Tesla. All right. And there's still something holding Tesla back at this point. And as soon as it gets over, we pointed that out, where to go long. All right. Time and price. We had 320 up there. So clearly we had a top and we gapped down. I can remove that. And then we're looking for that cluster. Remember, I was talking about there's two here. And you can consider one because I believe you have the weekend there, but 328 and 41. So between 328, March 28th and April 1st, we're looking for a top. Will that top be here at 589? That's the 62% retracement, the golden ratio, Fibonacci. Or will it even make all the way up to 600 at the 786. Now, such a deep retracement, but it's possible. Okay. 50% would be really shallow, but we will get a pause there at 581. All right. Even if it's just intraday. So at this point, we have our wave 1 in. We have an A. I believe the B wave, and we don't know that B waves are a son of a, they really mess with you. But B, I believe, is in. So we have an A, B, and we're looking for that impulse C wave going into next week with a breakout and a weekly large candle before getting some sort of reversal candle on the daily or the weekly time frame. Change into the other Elliott wave board. I just call them that because you have your traditional board where you're looking for patterns and trend lines. And then on these boards, I just call them the Elliott wave because we're looking for Fibonacci retracements and you're looking for extensions and the Elliott wave patterns, okay? The counts. So we have the 1 in, we're looking for 2. I'll pull out a little bit. This is more of what I'm looking for. Just a nice large wave 1 where we have 1, 2. Wave 3 comes all the way down to this this Fibonacci cluster here. Wave 4 should waste some time. It should be sideways, like a triangle or a flat pattern. And then we're looking for wave 5. Below that, we have more Fibonacci's and things like that. And we'll add some more support resistances as we go down if we need to. But right now, it's a real clear board here that we have some clusters involved. Let's go to QQQ. On the Qs, we have this just equilibrium going on here. I had it much tighter before, but then we had this new low with the gap down. And so it's just showing a consolidation. We have 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10 candles in this range. I know that's frustrating. That's not your normal bottom. Okay. It's happening to us. This was not a normal sell-off. You had a lot of chop within there. You had basically 3 candles that were fine. That's typical of a sell-off, and then you had chop, up and down each and every day. That's not typical for your wave 3 inside of 1 there. And now we're forming a bottom. Now it happens. I'm not trying to make an excuse for anybody, but bottoms are usually events. You know, you had 1, 2, 3 days in here before a launch. That's fantastic. That's reasonable. You start getting into 10 days, you get exhausted. We have a lot of exhaustion. I can see it in the Discord. I can see it in myself, you know, looking for these trades to happen. And they're gonna pan out to the upside. All right. So the Qs. Let's go to SMH. The megaphone looks a little bit different on this one. We're bumping against it. We want to get back on top of it and in there. So we talked about a trade today, SMH. Once we get over this 229, we have a 10-point span here of almost nothing. I think we get higher. I think we go all the way up to 250, but we have virtually 10 points of a free trade after we get over 229. So look for that. Trade that. That's going to be an aggressive trade for us, probably going into next week. We'll get above it. We'll jump into it and we'll get out. All right, for 10 points. IWM. IWM's beautiful. Look at this support area, okay? And then you have volume in here as well. So you have a nice volume node where the price was trading around. So after this high here, we pulled back right into that support zone again. We're getting a higher low. Now this is setting up a left shoulder, head, right shoulder. We're going to have the neckline here, and we're going to have higher prices. Simple as that. Buy the dip. DIA. In this channel, setting up a higher low. Now, I'm not putting a whole bunch of support, and I don't trade this, but we can see that we had resistance here, these resistance zones here, and we're holding on to that support now, okay? So if you want to see it, if you trade DIA, let's just go ahead and add that in there for you. Boom. Spike through it, and we're holding it. I know it's not perfect, but there. And we're going higher. We're going to head up to, after we break out of this zone, we'll probably head straight up to 433. That's where all this chop is. This is where consolidation zone is before we're into resistance again. VIX. Headed into the VIX, we're at that support area where this is spiking up and spiking up. Now, the good thing about this was we're just watching, just like we did with, we're just watching the 8 EMA on this one. Okay, so we had a sell off, we had a sell signal on the VIX. We're weak, but not oversold, and we're oscillating here on the lower end. Okay, so what I'm doing with the VIX is I'm holding tight. Not only, we also have cycles going into April 1st. That's what I'm talking about. Okay, I think the VIX starts to gain some traction into the end of March, beginning of April. Now, this 8 EMA is our momentum indicator. We keep rejecting off of that 8 EMA. I think we break down from the 19 zone and continue to move. If we get above this 8 EMA, then we have to rethink what's happening here. All right, we have the 200 underneath there, and I think we could even make it down all the way to the end of the zone here around 15. All right, back to SPY. Let's go to the 65. On the 65, we have a good look here at the megaphone bottom again, and that's into that support that we have with that consolidation here down at 555. All right, I know it didn't touch there. It's a zone. All right, so we're having this resistance here back at the top of our zone. 565 is going to be our key going into next week with this downtrend line here. Now, I have this drawn out as if this is a bear flag. That's what a lot of people are thinking. All right, and that's valid. If this is an objective short, if you want to be short, great. But we have so many indicators and so many things telling us otherwise, that this is actually, an A, B, and going into C, where you're going to get stopped out of here. So if you're short, just keep in mind, you get over 565 and maybe consider getting out of your trades there. All right. So the options expected move, we're not even close to it. We're going to have an inside week. We'll look at the options expected move. It probably won't be much different the next week. So we'll probably be looking for that 574 once again, which coincides with the 200-day moving average, and also that 382. And let's go over there. Here's that 382% retracement from top to bottom. So that's going to be a good zone to pause for a second, okay? And you clearly see a consolidation zone, so you see resistance here. It was support and became resistance. Now, our 382, again, a line in the sand. This is the 382. If this is a wave 2 that topped up here, all the way down to the bottom, that would be considered wave 3. If that is the case and we have one more leg down, then this should not be violated. Okay, that's 560, we'll call it 569. Should not be violated. Price should not get above there, or else we are, not me, this isn't my scenario, or else you are wrong. Okay, so that should be your bull bear line here that you shouldn't cross. But it really, with that bear flag, you shouldn't cross that anyway. Okay, you shouldn't, as a matter of fact, get back above this 565 at this point if this is the wave down to new lows. All right, so here again are our targets. We'll call our first target. You can say this is the first, but that's way too shallow for us, the 574. We're looking at 581, 589, 600. Target 1, 2, and 3. All right, so once 2 is satisfied, we'll be out of most of our trades. and we'll be scaling into our longer term short positions. If and when we'll hedge to the upside if this continues to get above the 62% retracement and wants to go to the next level. All right. Let's go to some of these indicators. So the OptionsTender indicators here, we're going to start off with a MACD. What does this look like? All right, so we're making highs here. We're trending to the upside, and we had a bear signal, a sell signal, and we're getting back into that zero line. So we're just looking for a higher low. And then when we cross back over here, that should be another great, in this case, buy signal. The momentum's up. We had, after this little sell here today, we were already oversold just in that move. So you see how these oversold conditions will happen quickly when you're starting an uptrend. And now price should oscillate to the overbought territory, probably much deeper into the 80s and 90s, and then form some divergences before we're even looking for a reversal back to the downside. Now, this did play out well. All right, so we had the high here, and we made a higher high. So if you started going short because of this negative divergence here, you were right, but just for a trade, just for a quick trade. So just be careful about sticking into that trade. All right, we had the slow stoch it's actually starting to come together here. You see, we're kind of oscillating higher lows and lower highs. So let's see if we kind of break out from that and continue to move higher. And then again, I think we'll have some sort of oscillating movement to the upside pinned up here in the overbought territory. Going to DeMark. The DeMark, we don't have much going on here. We had that exhaustion sell signal, and that's where we did have a dip there. So not much to record. We just want to check these each and every day to see how they develop. I mean, that's a good habit to have. Now we had that negative divergence here. Again, if you went short here against resistance, you had a nice little day trade, overnight trade. All right, so that's now here. Now here's a good lesson here. So we have that negative divergence, and we're starting to see a positive green candle. So we have this whipsaw here. I think we go much higher in the awesome oscillator, and it should look very similar to our move down. Okay, so we had positive divergence here, where we had a dip buy. Okay, but it was sold into, and then we had another. Then we had another move that went much deeper. So it kind of reset the whole thing, and then had a negative or a positive divergence again. All right. So you had a spike up that was sold into, and then price went much deeper for the awesome oscillator. I think the same price action is going to happen. We're going to burn above this negative divergence and form another one and do the same thing again. It's going to be very similar to the upside as this downside. Bollinger Band, again, had the overbought negative divergence. So I kind of ignored that because it's such a short-term thing, and then sold off. So if you're a really short-term trader, then that was a good sell signal right against resistance with the Bollinger Bands. Oversold or overbought, sell signal, and then you take it off. You take off your positions in the over sold zone. Okay, I think that's all on SPY, QQQ. Just get some good visuals, and then we'll end this video. So we were trying to hold this as an ascending triangle, and we gapped above it. Okay, so the argument would be this is a bear flag, and then price is rejecting off of that bear flag. Okay, so that's the argument, and we had lower. I don't think that's the case. Sure, I think we might form some more market structure here. But I think we're going higher at this point. So this is no longer, I'm going to take that measured move out of there. I just think this is an A. We made a lower high here, not like SPY. And I think we're just getting a either an A, B, 1, 2, or we could even be, and if we didn't make a new low here, let's see what the low is. 472.41, 472.41, and 91. So we made a higher low. What could be happening here is A is done, and I'll do this in the next board where we have our Elliott waves and stuff like that. So we have our steep triangles here. This is possibly an A and B, where we have A, B, C, D, and we'll just get a low here for an E, and then we head higher. So we could be getting in the B wave a triangle. All right, see how B waves are they're just so hard to predict that what we want to do is trade longer expirations to get through this chop, to get through whatever B wave has to offer. All right. SMH. On 65, we have a wedge forming, broke out of it, just forming a little wedge here, a bullish falling wedge. So let's go ahead and borrow some of these lines. And that's the case for SPY as well. If you're down to like the 15-minute or 30-minute, you'll see that these, I don't think price is moving lower. These wedges are holding well. And this maybe has not broken out yet, but SPY did. IWM. Holding out to that beautiful support. This one broke down from trend. Again, if you're a bear, you're looking at a bear flag. It's a breakdown, and we should go lower, right? Well, I think that's the wrong situation, but at least you have an objective short here. I think this is going to hold. I think this is a little wedge, and I think we start to head higher at minimum into some of the resistances of this new channel that's formed here. So could be up to about, depending on time and in price here, about 215. You see we have good support resistance at that level too. TIA did make it to its upper options expected move, so it's relatively stronger, kind of leading the pack here. All right, so we have good support at about these highs and lows at about 416, and we held on to that today. As a matter of fact, just zoomed right up off of it. So, just looking good. Higher highs, higher lows. So far, making a higher low. Back to the VIX, and we'll end this. So the VIX, this is something that we have to think about. Okay, we broke out of this channel to the downside, and we're rejecting off in the 8 EMA on the daily time frame. Okay, so if this is to be bullish, we got to get over that 8 EMA. We got to show some love over this 21 level. I don't think that's the case. I think that we're going to continue to drop and ride on the top of this, which will expand the wedge after that. It happens often, but if we break down from this 19 level, that will be a very bad thing for the VIX, and the market will continue to move higher. All right, relative weakness, options expected to move to the downside. We'll see if that continues next week. I think we keep riding down the top of this channel. All right, and then we'll form some sort of other pattern in a larger time frame. Just like this, these moves here ended up forming a larger wedge. So I think that might happen down here too. And so you see these lower levels that we have a channel drawn a little bit different down here, but it brings us to the 16 level. So I think 16 or 15. If we start to close the gap lower, then we're getting really deep retracements on SPY. All right, so that's what we're looking at, you guys. Thank you for all the support. Subscribe, like, do all those things. Have a great weekend. We'll visit you tomorrow with a weekend update, so make sure you come back and see us again. Hit that bell so you can get notified anytime that we do these videos. Love having you here. Want to see you in the Discord. We'll talk to you tomorrow.